grisly discovery in Milwaukee today. Mutilated body parts were found in a man's apartment.
Police have arrested 31-year-old Jeffrey Dahmer.
When I first saw the newspaper with Dahmer's face on it, it just hurt. Holding that newspaper and going, oh my God, that's him. That's my anatomy class student.
He seemed like a quiet man, kind of a regular guy.
He's being called the cannibal killer.
The insight that this person was in fact the man who ate body parts was immediate. My brush with the evil that was Jeffrey Dahmer. It has haunted me to this day.
Things that I wanted to do differently with you.
Right.
Ever since the Jeffrey Dahmer murders were discovered, Lionel Dahmer was on that path, on that quest to try and figure out if he had a role in this.
What's really been puzzling me is how come I just didn't know anything about this. I pretty much was doing things in my own little world.
To hear Jeffrey Dahmer have a conversation with his father is brand new. This is Jeffrey Dahmer as he actually is.
Remember that small 1 by 1 square foot box? You know what was in it, don't you? No. The mummified head and the genitals of the last victim in the West Allen station. Oh, I see. Amazingly, all the times that I should have been caught, I never was. Do you think that maybe Satan was involved?
Investigators are currently on the scene, about 30 or 40 of them, combing over the property in the Bath Township residence that Jeffrey Dahmer lived in at the time that he attended high school. They are looking for the remains of 19-year-old Stephen Hicks, who disappeared in 1978, and Dahmer allegedly has confessed to killing Hicks and spreading his body parts over the property.
He changed to picking up someone on the road. A hitchhiker, good looking one.
And the hitchhiker you're talking about, that was Stephen Hicks, right?
Right. Everything just fell into place, and I was able to make the fantasy reality. Yeah, it's all in my mind when I think of it.
With the murder of Stephen Hicks, Jeffrey Dahmer has now crossed the line, and there's no turning back from that. At some point, Lionel discovers Jeffrey drunk at home. He now knows that his son is drinking to excess. But see, Lionel doesn't know what's wrong with him. He doesn't see that his son is developing into a serial killer. But Lionel wants Jeffrey to go to college. He believes the education is going to help turn his son's life around. And so he enrolls Jeffrey in Ohio State University.
My name is Michael Prochaska, and I was a roommate with Jeffrey Dahmer at Ohio State University in 1978. And not only was I his roommate, I was on the bottom bunk and he was on the top. Who's going to believe that? I've never told the story before. It kind of feels good to get it all out after all this time. Moral Tower was the dormitory that I was in. You can't believe how excited I was to see if any other guys had moved in. When I finally did get to the room, a couple of my roommates had moved in, and Jeff was one of them. I said, "Hey, how you doing?" And I think I just got a "Hey" or "Hi, I'm Jeff." But other than that, there was no connection, no eye contact, no "Where you from?" "How's your family?" There was none of that with Jeff, just short, quick, 1 or 2 word answers. There was about 10 or 12 of us who kind of clicked immediately, and then there was Jeff, who just did his own thing. And he didn't seem to have any inclination to try to get to be a part of us either. We were all listening to rock and roll, Bruce Springsteen, The Who, the Rolling Stones, Pink Floyd. But what was strange about Jeff had 1 or 2 Neil Sedaka albums. And we all kind of looked at each other like, with disrespect to Neil Sedaka, but nobody at my age is listening to Neil Sedaka. If you asked Jeff questions about sports or teams, he was uninterested, but he was a drinker. Drinking was very common, but Jeffrey took it to the extreme. He was drinking hard liquor. I don't know where he got the money to be able to pay for all the alcohol that he consumed, but he stole. Radio was stolen of mine, and some money was stolen. So we approached our resident assistant and said, "Look, you know, Jeff is, he doesn't fit in with the rest of us." He kind of looked at us and he said, "Come on, guys. You know, you're not living with mommy and daddy anymore. And if Jeff doesn't fit in with the group, then make him fit in." And then that weekend, we made the effort. So there were 10 of us or so, I think, that said, "Hey, you know, Jeff, we're going up to High Street, we're going to the bars, we're going drinking, we're going to have fun. You want to come with us?" And Jeff actually agreed. He said, yeah, I'll come out with you. He was with us an hour and a half, 2 hours. Seemed like he was having some fun, but then he left and went off on his own. So we stayed at the bars on High Street, drinking all night. We were having fun. When we came back, there was damage in the common bathroom. One of the stall doors was broken off the hinge, kicked in, the sink was damaged, and the mirror was cracked. And we were like, "Jeff." I mean, that's what everybody's first reaction was. This was Jeff. He denied it. You know, who's going to admit that they busted up the bathroom? I had never been around an alcoholic before. I didn't really know what an alcoholic was. Between Thanksgiving and Christmas, he decided that he was going to start a collection of bottles. He must have had 30 to 50 bottles on his shelf that were empties. Hard liquor. Everybody went home at Christmas. And then after Christmas, which was 2.5 week break, we came back and there was no Jeff. I do thank God every day that nothing happened. You know, when you think about it, he committed that first murder certainly just weeks prior to us going to Ohio State. And when you think about that, that's a little scary. But what he must have been going through, whatever demons he had in his mind, I mean, that's why he was drinking.
Lionel still has a son who is deeply troubled. By the time Christmas rolls around, he was arrested for being drunk and disorderly. And for Lionel, that was the last straw.
I want you to know I love you so very much, and I have so many things that I wanted to do differently with you,
Right.
and I care about you.
Same here.
Lionel's solution everything that Dahmer was doing throughout his life. His solution was always, in each case, to send him away. Send him to college. Send him to the Army. Send him away.
This is the Army. It's duty in Europe. It's wet, it's work, and it's tough.
My name is Linda Sue Acevedo. I was known as Linda Sue Swisher. I have since remarried. I was an emergency room charge nurse in Baumholder, West Germany, during the late 70s. When I enlisted, the Vietnam War was still ongoing, and things were very strict, and no one drank. But that all changed when the war was over. So by 1979, it was a broken army. But parents were still putting people in the military to try and straighten them out, which was the exact opposite of what happened. If you took a person who was drinking as a civilian and you put them in the army, then they were a happy drunk, because they got to drink a lot and often. And you ended up with people like Jeffrey Dahmer being picked to being a medic. I took no particular notice of him until I was teaching anatomy with a plastic torso with removable parts. And I disassembled the whole thing, and then the practical part of the exercise would be to reassemble the torso and get the liver in the right place, and the stomach in the right place, and the bowels in their proper place. And when I called on Dahmer, who had been a very quiet, not involved student, he picked up the body part that was his to go in the torso, and he caressed it. He like petted it. And I'm like, what? This is just off the wall weird. What does he think he has? A kitty? There was this glaring disconnect between how people picked up pretend anatomy parts and this man interacting with it. I was to the wall, shocked by this very brief encounter with Jeffrey Dahmer.
When I interviewed him, I told Jeff, teach me. I want to know what goes through your mind. Jeff told me that the reason he became a medic is because he had a fascination with the body and internal parts of the body, starting with animals and then human beings. Learning the body, seeing the body, being able to feel the body. It fed into his fantasy.
That was your first fantasy. That is the fantasy about looking and seeing what's inside of dogs. Right. Raccoons and so forth. Yeah. Was that carried into your conscious life, or was it just in a dream? No, it was in my conscious life. I went out looking for those things.
This picture here is definitely 1978. My name is Preston Davis. I was a medic with an Army unit. And my first tour was in Baumholder, Germany. I loved the fact that I had the opportunity, or would have the opportunity, to travel, see the world. July of 1979. I was asked by my platoon sergeant to train a new guy on a field exercise, and his name was Jeffrey Dahmer. Just looked like a normal you know, human being. Just not handsome fella, handsome. You know, surfer type, blonde hair, blue eyes. You would think that he could have the pick of the litter in terms of females, but he never talked about having a girlfriend or dating girls or anything like that. Jeff had no homosexual tendencies that I saw.
Well, was age 13 when you had, I guess it was a homosexual experience. How did that happen? Who initiated that? We both did, sort of. I don't remember who actually initiated it, but we were both quite comfortable with it. Both of you sort of at the same time initiated it. Yeah. And was it always, it was just light, you know, just kissing and holding. Nothing didn't go beyond that. No masturbation or anything? No, not that I remember. And you didn't even think of telling me or Mom? Hell no.
The only thing Jeffrey talked about primarily was his father. He talked about how his father studied science and, you know, going on to become a medic. It was because I think he was proud of his dad and how he taught him certain things. A medic has much more authority to use hard drugs. And when he came to my unit in July of '79 as a medic, that is where Jeffrey learned or fine-tuned his ability to mix drugs and drug people. Ketamine and Ativan were drugs that Jeffrey had access to. Those type of drugs wipe your memory. When the tanks go out on the field exercise, they have to have medical support. So at the very least, you have 2 medics. This particular exercise, it was just myself and Jeffrey Dahmer. We travel out cross country, and I'm driving at least 18 to 20 hours a day throughout the countryside. And around 3 to 4 days before the end of the exercise is where our track broke down. And I remember very vividly, the left final drive went out. So now we're immobile, we can't move. So we were told to the train station, and a couple of days went by. Obviously, the higher-ups would come by and check on us, make sure we're okay. Make sure we had meals to eat. Somewhere along the line, within those last few days, I lost time. It would be very easy for Jeffrey Dahmer to put something in my food. And that's what I believe happened. I was drugged by Dahmer. I left Germany in February of '80, and I basically deleted Jeffrey Dahmer from my mental Rolodex. Billy Capshaw was my replacement as a medic.
My name is Billy Joe Capshaw. I was 17 years old when I joined the military. The reason why I joined was to, help my family and send home money. When I got to Germany, I met Jeff. They asked us if we wanted to be roommates. He asked me, I said, yeah, yes. He showed me the room, helped me unpack my stuff. He's laughing and talking, and he said he had the best grandma in the whole world, and that he loved his grandma. And he loved his father. He did not want to disappoint his father. And he has to make his father proud.
Your personality, which is, loving, kind, the side of you which is the greatest side of you. I mean, you love us, right? You love Grandma. You show respect to people. You talk civilly and nicely and respectfully. You don't show any anger.
I felt safe, I felt like, wow, man, I got it. And nothing happened that night. You know, nothing. I wake up the next day. He says, come here. So I walked over to his wall locker. He said, I want to show you something. He had a Fanta bottle, an orange Fanta bottle. I'm thinking it's soda pop. And he says, take a drink. I want you to taste this. And man, it was vodka, orange vodka. And he says, good, huh? I said, Jeff, I don't drink that stuff. He says, oh yeah, you do. That's what we do around here. We drink more orange vodka, okay? And, you know, I start getting pretty drunk. He fills the bottle up again and continues to drink. The son of a bitch turned. He just turned from the person I met that first day into somebody I didn't even know. I said, could you please just stop drinking? Just stop drinking. And he says, no, I'm not gonna stop drinking. What are you talking about, stop drinking? And what time? It wasn't even dark yet, I don't think. And he said, just go to sleep. Just go to sleep. Thought to myself, well, okay, I'm gonna go to sleep because this dude's drunk. So I get into my bed and I'm fully dressed. I wake up the next morning, he's over there smiling at me. He's smiling at me and I'm telling him, I'm going, Jeff, what's wrong? And then all of a sudden I looked down and I had urinated all over myself. All over myself. You know, the bed was wet. I raised my butt up and I ain't had no pants on. And then it started to make sense. It started to hit me. I could feel that pain in my body. I knew that something had happened. I knew that I had been raped right then. And then he just started making faces, you know, like, you know, not saying nothing, just making the faces. I was so scared. All I could think about was getting away. So I said, please, just let me go outside. But I couldn't get out the door. The damn door was locked. So, you know, I'm thinking, what am I gonna do now? What am I gonna do? How am I gonna get out? And I ran and I jumped out the window. I jumped out the window. Boom, jumped out the window.
Billy Capshaw was brought in on a stretcher, unable to walk, and I didn't need an x-ray to tell me that Billy's pelvis was badly broken.
Linda Sue, I remember her holding my hand and telling me everything's gonna be all right. And I remember telling him that I was raped. I told the doctor that I was raped. It did not bother him at all. People in the military, they did not cure. The only one that cured was the nurse that took care of me.
Billy tried repeatedly to tell people, you are sending me back to harm's way. And no one was willing to listen to Billy.
What do? They take me right back to the same room. The same bed, the same roommate. Jeffrey Dahmer. Yes, Jeffrey Dahmer. It progressively gets worse and worse and worse with the rapes and everything like that. Okay, it gets worse. It turns into 2 times a day. I never knew when it was going to happen.
For Jeff, rape rarely has anything to do with sex. It's a sexual expression of aggression. Rape primarily services non-sexual needs of domination, control, humiliation. The ultimate power trip is to decide the fate of another human being.
So I started to plan his death. I was going to kill Jeffrey Dahmer, Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer. I was going to kill him with all my might. Every bit of everything I had in my body left, I was going to kill him. But guess what? I changed my mind. I should have took him out before he got out of hand. And now I feel guilty about it.
Jeffrey Dahmer was out-processed for being a habitual drunk, but received an honorable discharge. Jeffrey Dahmer was unleashed on good paperwork, unleashed on societies as this monster.
When Jeffrey Dahmer gets out of the Army, he's got the skill set that he would disastrously use later on. But he's failed again. Everything his father has wanted to try to get him going in the right direction, Jeffrey Dahmer has failed. So now there's Lionel Dahmer saying, what am I going to do with my son? What's left?
Have you done any praying at all to God?
Not yet. No, I haven't.
Why do you feel that you haven't? Can I ask that?
Because I feel that, I don't know, I just feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because if I fail again.
But I'm failing too.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the time I'm failing.
I just haven't psyched myself up to do that yet.
Mm-hmm.
Lionel Dahmer was extremely religious, very Christian. And at some point, Jeffrey tries to come out to his father. So he looks into sending Jeffrey away to a Pray the Gay Away camp, see if that might help. And Jeff Dahmer was not interested in that at all.
If you had had any experience, a heterosexual experience at that time of life, I wonder what you would have. I don't know. I don't desire it now, and I didn't desire it then.
So there's still a desire on the part of Lionel Dahmer to fix his son, right? To fix him. So he decides that it would be a good idea for Jeffrey to go live with his grandmother in Milwaukee.
we're at least I am looking for Jeff to come find my son. And so far I have no fear. Beautiful day outside. Nice day to be alive.
Jeffrey Dahmer's grandmother might have been the only person that truly loved him in that deep way that a grandmother loves her grandchild.
You're just the love of her life. Right? Oh, yeah. That's good. Whenever you used to visit her, when I was there, she'd always be in such a good mood, before you actually came. She was always looking forward to you so much. I know.
When Jeffrey goes to his grandmother's house to live, he's going to church, he gets a job at Ambrosia Chocolate Factory. It seems like he's finally doing all the right things.
Jeff has bought a lot of flowers for you, hasn't he? What?
He likes flowers.
Yeah.
For 5 years, it seems that he is on the path that Lionel wants him to be. But I don't think Jeffrey Dahmer, since his first murder, was ever on the right path again. I think he was always plotting. I think he was always trying to figure out how he could live out the fantasies that he was having in his head. So while Jeffrey Dahmer is living with his grandmother, he's essentially free. No one is watching over him. And he begins frequenting Milwaukee's gay bars.
Jeffrey Dahmer went to those bars. He was cute. I mean, he wasn't ugly. Because he was ugly, he wouldn't have gotten as many people as he got. My name is Eric Wynn. I was crowned Miss Gay Wisconsin 1984. I couldn't believe he didn't get a hold of me. Hell, my ex kind of looked like him. Blonde hair, a little bit of beard, those weird, stupid 70s Kojak TV show glasses. Everybody has them. Let's call it what it is. He was attractive. When the sun started to set, it was drag queens everywhere. It started to come alive. It was popping, and it was fun and happy. And there it is, 219. My home away from home. 219 was the premier gay club on South 2nd Street. The chicest place to be, had the best showgirls, the most organized showgirls, and I was one of them. I was Erica Stevens. Oh my God, the scene was outrageous. Everything was bigger in the 80s. Hair, clothes, shoulder pads, it was just insane. Everybody was wearing latex, and there was so much makeup, racing stripes for blush, and so much eyeshadow. Girl, you counted the colors, your eyes looked like peacock feathers. It was the 80s, it was ridiculous. I mean, we are the ones that destroyed the ozone layer. Everything was over the top. It was the most beautiful and most ugliest time in the world. But then AIDS hit. It all turned. It went from this beautiful thing to darkness. Something was going on and nobody knew what was happening. All of that happiness was gone. And it just turned into fear. And people started putting up signs on the street posts because people were vanishing. And you saw them and you just automatically assumed that it was, I'm sorry. You just automatically assumed that it was people from HIV.
Jeffrey Dahmer hasn't killed for 9 years. He meets Stephen Toomey at Club 219.
Jeff told me. But to me, it was opportunity. And then he wanted to have sex. He found him to be attractive and the kind of body style that he was looking for. Couldn't bring him back to his grandmother's house, so they rented a room at the Ambassador Hotel.
They drink, and then Dahmer says he wakes up in the morning and Stephen Toomey is dead. But Dahmer doesn't know how he got that way.
He says, I'd have no recollection of actually killing him. Had to be me, but I have no recollection. I think what happened is he drank to where he passed out, and he, beat him and then strangled him. Think of Jeff being in that hotel room. The door's locked from the inside. He's got a dead body he's laying on. I mean, he's got to be going through sheer terror, It's like, oh my God. So there's a significant emotional event, because we talked about that, and it was very emotional for him. He got scared.
And now Jeffrey Dahmer has to figure out, how is he going to get rid of this body? He can't call the police. So he goes to the mall, buys a suitcase, big suitcase, comes back to the Ambassador Hotel.
Well, he cut it up, put the body, in the suitcase and called a cab. And, Stephen Toomey had to be about 170 pounds. And here Jeff is trying to carry this, body in a suitcase, and it weighs more than he does. So he gets the cab driver to help him. It's like, and the cab driver is like, oh, what do you got in there, a body? And Jeff just, kind of plays along with it.
He then took it back to his grandma's house, and then he slowly disposed of that body over a lengthy period of time.
I pretty much was doing things in my own little world.
Kept it all to yourself. Yeah. Right?
No.
What was supposed to straighten Jeffrey Dahmer out, living with his grandmother, only created a nice isolated space, a private space, for him to continue to act out on these fantasies.
He didn't necessarily want to keep killing initially. He did tell me, though, once the killing started, it was such an adrenaline rush. It met his fantasy.
Something got terribly out of control. Nothing got resolved at all. It was just a terrible mixture.
Do you think that maybe Satan was involved, or? It was just a real strong driving obsession that became more powerful.
I think that at that point he said, I've done these 2 homicides. I've gotten away with them. I was able to dispose of bodies. I can get away with this. And then subsequently, I think he started to plan more and more of these. He started to use a sleeping pill, Halcyon, very, very potent, powerful sleeping pill that he took himself, and knew that one of these pills, and certainly 2 of them, are going to knock you out, make you incapacitated. Bailey's Irish Cream was one of the things that he would mix this in, because he said people would drink it and you wouldn't taste the drug in it. He liked keeping them in this incapacitated state for as long as he could. He talked about having sex with them during this time.
He started perfecting his craft, his method and his evolving. He started perfecting it. The fantasy evolves.
Milwaukee's gay scene was tailor-made for Jeffrey Dahmer. It became his playground. It became his hunting ground. Jeffrey Dahmer was able to operate with abandon.
I was so wrapped up in what I was doing.
Right.
I felt I was going to continue doing that for the rest of my life.
He was going to target people specifically. He was going to talk to people and find out what their story was. He was going to find out if they were close to their families. What he was doing was trying to determine if this person that he was conversing with would be missed if they were to disappear.
Jeff and I talked about cannibalism. What Jeff had explained to me is he wanted to totally own that body. So he felt that by eating a part of the body, it would become part of him.
During his first 6-hour interrogation by police, one of the detectives asked him if he was hungry, but Dahmer said, quote, he was not hungry and probably will not be hungry for a long time.
I asked him how it tasted, and he said, like a filet mignon. And I said, yes, I haven't eaten a filet since.